Hello, I am Maaike Olij. I'm the co-author of the EBU news report Fast Forward, this report. I am a journalism consultant from the Netherlands, and I used to work for the national news broadcaster here in the Netherlands, NOS. I'm currently working freelance, and I'm also in the board of our National Journalism Foundation. I wrote this report together with Atte Jaskalainen, who can't be here today with me, unfortunately, as he is now the Director General of Education at the Finnish government. But at the time of writing this report with me, he was a professor of practice at Lund University in Finland. And maybe you all know him as the former head of news at YLE, the Finnish news broadcaster, or the Finnish national broadcaster. We wrote this report together as the EBU saw the biggest story of our lives unfold underneath their eyes, the corona pandemic, and they wanted to know what the impact would be on public service journalism. They were apprehensive about the influence and asked Atte and me to analyze this. So we did. And for this, we interviewed 20 news leaders from the EBU membership. We talked with them, heads of news, editors-in-chief, all kinds of news directors from Italy, Spain, but also Finland, you name it. And we talked with them about the pandemic. How did they experience it? What were the influences that they noticed in their organization and in their newsroom? Additionally, we did some trend research. We used methods of trend research in order to understand what would be the lasting impact of all of these changes. So we spoke to futurists and we made analysis of the trends that would be having a longer impact than just the moment. We also highlighted several cases, and this is a method that we do every year with the news report. We talk to people that have found new solutions or have dealt with the problem in a particular way that is inspiring for the whole membership of the EBU. In this report, we have 20 of those cases, and a few of them I want to share with you today as they talk about the constructive angle. I already showed you the report, and it is actually quite thick, so there's a lot of information in it. I mean, it deals about battling fake news. It talks about having a digital offering for your audiences. It talks about being agile and quick to change. But it also, in a lot of ways, talks about the constructive angle. Because we found that in this time of a pandemic, it's very important to listen to your audience and to be really comprehensive for their needs. And a lot of the needs of the audience are actually about constructive news. So this is what I want to talk to you about today, the constructive angles. We have 8 recommendations in our report that are all formulated from the perspective of the audience. And today I want to talk with you about 3 of those recommendations. The first one is let's do it together, which is really about inclusion, belonging and support. The second one is listen to me, which is much more about accessibility. And the third one is help me understand, which is about offering new perspectives. The first one, let's do it together, is really a feeling, a spirit that you recognize from the beginning of the pandemic and maybe sometimes from a second lockdown, for example, as there was a big solidarity when people were, confined to their own homes and their own lives. People were craving a feeling of togetherness, a feeling of solidarity. And the public service had a real chance here and an opportunity to offer this. The ratings were sky high on television, radio, but also online. People were really gathering together and were looking for a collective viewpoint on the world and support with each other. And that's why you see a lot of examples in many countries that of public service that offered this and that were actually quite good in giving this collective feeling. One example that I want to talk quickly with you today is Klara Corona, which is from Sweden. And here they introduced from Sveriges Radio, that is, Sveriges Radio, they wanted to show the country not just images of sickness and despair, but also of people helping each other and inventing new ways within this whole crisis. And the result is actually 2,000 stories on hope and civic action and inspiration. And it has really proved its position in society, and people were really happy with this hashtag and this offering, as it showed them hope and inspiration in times that were actually quite bleak for them. And actually the neighboring country, Norway, they did something similar with a platform called Alltid Sammen, Always Together. And with this, they really wanted to give people that a feeling of feeling alone together. So they made a digital offering, but it was very interactive, so people could hand in questions and interact with the people behind it. But it also had segments of news in it, it had entertainment, and all the platforms refer to it. So on the radio, there would be a reference to Altijd Samen on television, and the output of radio and television would also come back into this platform. So it was an ongoing 24/7 platform where people could really have this feeling of being together. And we believe that there's a really profound strength in this offering a sense of belonging for public service journalism, because people, of course, besides their individual needs and focus, they really do want to have a communal feeling and to build a sense of togetherness, basically. The second recommendation, as I said before, is Listen to Me. And this one is really about inclusion and accessibility. Because in many of our societies, unfortunately, the pandemic has led to maybe an increase in polarization, or at least it didn't go away, as many of us might have hoped. I think it was the Finnish editor-in-chief, he said, I think it's actually stronger now than it has been before. So that's worrisome. And we therefore believe that the antidote to fight this ongoing polarization also needs to be stronger. So more inclusion, more solution-oriented journalism, a warmer tone of voice in order to battle this ongoing outward movement. And also here, of course, public service media have a very strong mission to include all voices in society. Again, I brought some examples. The first one is from Iceland, where they have quite a big Polish community, which is about 6% of the total population. And quite early on in the pandemic, they realized that RÚV, the national news broadcaster, the national broadcaster, that they needed to make an offering for this specific community. As the Polish people were getting only news from back home, but they didn't always trust this information. And also, of course, the approach in Poland was quite different to the approach in Iceland. The measures were different, the information they got. So you see here Alex and Anna, and they decided to make an offering on RÚV by translating the content of from Icelandic to Polish, and they did that quite quickly, as not everybody speaks Icelandic or Polish fluently, and they would still be able to get all the information that was sent out. Another way to include all voices in society is to include people that maybe not go to your traditional platforms. This is an example from Germany, ARD. Their program Tagesschau, which is huge on television, decided actually already a few months before the pandemic hit that they wanted to go onto TikTok, which is the biggest youth platform, or a platform where a lot of young people are on. Young people that maybe not always go to ARD's other offerings, other platforms. So they made their a TikTok channel and also put news in there. And this actually proved to be very effective during the pandemic, because a lot of kids used it, and they had a stunning, in 10 months, they had about 90 million views, which is a lot, at least if you come from the Netherlands, and these numbers are really quite high. So the interest was huge, and it was really effective to have this channel to communicate and interact with a younger audience. And it's interesting that you see this throughout Europe on different places. And one other place where you saw this is Belgium. This is an example there. It's called Lockdown. It's a program that the RTBF, the French broadcaster in Belgium, produced on the game platform Twitch. And on Twitch, you would never see much informative programming, but they decided to do this and to have sort of an hour, very casual, informal talking with experts in the studio, but also sharing information to people that were normally on the game platform Twitch. And it was also received with very positive responses. A lot of gamers didn't realize that this was a news program, but they were really engaged and getting information back and forward. And also that for the RTBF, it was a very nice introduction to making news in a different way, much more informal. So it really worked out both ways. The third area, and the third recommendation that I wanted to talk to you about is Help Me Understand. Because I think we all know that there was an overabundance of information during the pandemic, and still is, and it's very complex. It's a very complex information stream that we're all getting, with scientists sometimes not even agreeing with each other, or different viewpoints that are there. And the audience was really craving sense making. They had no idea what it all meant, how to weigh information. So journalism, and especially public service journalism, had a mission there to help people understand. And that needs different things, like maybe a more modest opinion from journalists, not claiming we know everything and this is truth, but being a little bit more modest and saying we don't have all the answers yet, but we're trying to find out, and we'll get back to you if we know more. That's a way to do it, to offer a new perspective. But it might also be to have more real expert scientific reporting. In a lot of newsrooms, this has been budgeted out with generic reporters, but now you really saw the change back to specialized reporting. And this is, I think, an interesting one, gamification. We have seen a lot of examples throughout Europe where newsrooms have used gamification as a way to help people understand and give them a new perspective. This, for example, is an example from Finland, where they made an offering called A Difficult Dilemma. And they used gamification theories to make tangible how hard it is to make the right policy decisions when you have conflicting considerations like health and economic considerations. And the aim was really to open people's minds to different viewpoints and to battle, again, polarization. So people really experienced how hard it is to make these calls and to have these policy decisions. And this example I brought from Slovenia, which I also really like, because they have quite a challenging situation in Slovenia, where they are actually quite fearful that they will be the next Hungary when it comes to legislation from the government. But at the same time, they want to offer their audience what they call a forum of normality during the pandemic. This is a quote from one of their radio stations, Val 202. And Nej there says that they, of course, want to bring high quality scientific reporting, but mix that quite deliberately with escapism and moments to relax. They made, for example, quizzes on Corona, news quizzes, in order to be a platform for everyone and to have a broad audience share, so that they would really be able to give the information to all of the people that need the information. I will leave it at that. I think I've been talking already for too long. This is the report, Fast Forward, Public Service Journalism in the Viral Age. I recommend, of course, that you all read it. There's a lot more in it than I've been able to share with you right now. And I hope you'll find inspiration and hope from it, because in the end, even though we talk about a pandemic and it's all very negative, we really do believe that there is hope to be gained from this whole situation. Which is, again, quite a constructive thought. So good luck with your conference, and maybe we'll meet again someday. Bye-bye.